Are we creating a new thought leadership word here?
It was
virality. No,
virality.
Doesn't quite work. Yeah, the viralness.
And it makes it viralicious.
Viralicious.
Viralicious. That
Viraliciousness. Yes.
Ooh, viraliciousness.
Yes.
Now that's thought leadership.
Thank you very much.
Leave your wet dreams at the door. It's time for Carl and Mike.
Welcome, Carl Mike. Best of 2015. I'm Carl.
I'm Mike.
And Mike, tonight, we've had a whole year together, and we're going to have it all on tape here. Tape?
Yeah. Tape?
No. Digital?
I don't know.
It's digitized. So we've got the best of politics, the best of sex, the best of religion, and of course, thought leadership. We give it to you. It's a gift. It's yours, America. Actually, the world.
It's a taste.
A little taste.
Sampler.
Yeah, so if this is your first time listening to Carl Mike, enjoy your sample. And then hopefully you'll come back and take the full course meal.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else we should say about this for our new people?
No, let's get started.
All right.
Here we go.
Here we go.
I think the crowd is probably wiser and hipper than the people that are developing the apps. And that's why something like Uber catches fire so fast. Because there was already a need there.
Airbnb caught on.
And so they were already hip for it.
Yeah. It took Hilton years and years and years of money and buildings and people
That's
to build
all
what
bricks and mortar
Airbnb's
bullshit.
built.
That's old school.
It is old school, isn't
It is. I mean, it's totally old school.
So what, does the hotels go away to a certain degree?
Yeah, to the degree that they were, yeah. Now, what's the Airbnb/Uber equivalent of, instead of catching a ride from this part of town to that part of town, catching a ride from Dallas to L.A.?
What's the equivalent of that?
Yeah.
I don't know. There is no
Well, not yet.
long-term shuttle service?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're talking about short-term shuttle service, which is Uber. Airbnb is not short, is you go someplace and you stay someplace that's not a hotel,
Right.
which I think more and more people are becoming comfortable with. In fact, they even look for that.
How about Airbnb Premium, where you make them dinner?
Could be. Yeah, you provide a dinner with it. Well, what that is, a bed and breakfast.
It is a bed and breakfast.
It's a B&D, bread and dinner.
Yeah.
Bed and dinner. Yeah.
There's a spot. Maybe we've just come up with it.
I don't know.
Airbnb.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to be okay. Here's the deal.
Bed and dinner.
Here's the deal.
You get a home
You
cooked
got
meal.
somebody staying with you. You're going to cook a meal
Go
for
with the
yourself.
Whole Foodies.
You're cooking a food. You're cooking. Yes, foodies. Yeah, foodies would be a deal.
Here.
And so what you do, you're cooking a meal for yourself anyway at night, right?
There
and
you
so
go. There's something big.
Why don't you throw in they can stay at your Airbnb, and you can include dinner, and it costs them another $10-15.
Hey, wait. How about just dinner? Why do you need to stay with them?
Home meals
Yeah.
instead of restaurants, probably.
Yes.
Probably.
Restaurants are brick and
Yeah.
mortar.
Yeah.
Dinner. And this
No.
podcast is now.
No, that could.
Seriously, this is a big idea right here.
No, this is fucking
This is
thought
thought leadership.
This is, yes.
Hold on,
this
my
is thought leadership.
God, where you just go to someone's house for dinner.
Yeah.
How many singles are there out there that don't ever have a home cooked meal or don't like to cook?
So-
how many people love to cook?
Well,
and then you set it up what you're going to cook that night, so
Yeah.
you get your
And so
choice of what you want.
No, this is the meal that I'm cooking on Wednesday
Right.
night. This is Thursday
Right.
night.
On Wednesday night, I'm cooking-
And see what it is. You hit on the key there. Is
Oh,
the
you get
people
the
that are
choice.
single.
Yes.
So all of a sudden, instead of staying home watching TV with your dog,
So you list not only the food you're going to have your interest because it's a conversation. Let's do this. We just did $1 billion idea.
but you charge them for it. You charge them same thing they would pay to go to a Fridays or some bullshit
Well, I
like
don't know.
that.
You have to
like
figure
10
it
or
out.
$12.
You,
and you got about
you
10
the
people.
cooker, decide.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can decide the dish. You decide the guests. You decide the cost.
Or they could share guests.
In other words,
It'd
how
be a
many
potluck.
guests?
It could be a potluck thing where people bring their own. Thursday night's Indian food, and then people that like to cook Indian food and want to learn more about Indian food, they bring stuff.
Yeah, it's a
And it's
salon
Indian.
almost.
Yeah.
Salon
Yeah.
meets dinner.
Yeah.
It's bringing people together because you don't even know your neighbor these days. A lot of people.
And so what you're doing is you're putting people together based on common interest of food.
Because your neighbor could be, totally have zero interest.
Well,
with
see,
you.
the restaurants are going to get all pissed off about that, and
Of course they are.
they'll go to war, just
Well,
like
they
the
always
hotels
lose.
will.
But
fuck
the
'em.
restaurants, you've got a building.
Yeah, fuck them. I got a
You don't have
building.
chance.
It's called a house.
It's called a house.
And I'm going to use it to feed people and make money off of it, or I'm going to have people.
And I don't get conversation when I go to a
here's the deal.
restaurant. I don't get conversation.
You're sitting
when I
at
go
a
to
table
restaurant.
with 10 people, and you go, I want to introduce. This is everybody, and get. Oh, by the way, this is Bob. He's in from Minneapolis. He's staying with me. I'm running an Airbnb on the side, and then Bob's staying with me having dinner tonight. So all of a sudden, Bob gets to meet all these people.
If you want to have it, if you can only have one guest that night.
Yes.
You'll have all sorts of. You'll have grandmas cooking. You'll have the foodie who's
FTL,
You'll
Carl.
have a $50 meal.
FTL.
What is FTL?
Fucking thought leadership.
We have just done $1 billion business. Are we going to keep it to ourselves?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. That changes the landscape quite a bit.
Yeah.
It changes industries.
Yeah.
And I have speaking of a segue.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some predictions here. I thought I would bounce off of you from Ray Kurzweil. Now, for those who don't know Ray Kurzweil.
And that would be me.
Let me tell you a little bit about him. 20 honorary degrees, been awarded honors from 3 presidents, has written 7 books. He invented the flatbed scanner, the first print-to-speech reading machine for the blind, the synthesizer, Kurzweil.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Synthesizer.
Okay, that guy. His name's on it.
Right.
Yeah.
His name's on it. Was chosen by Google to direct their artificial intelligence development. Bill Gates says he's calls him the best person I know at predicting the future. And he's made some pretty amazing predictions. He predicted, in 1990, he predicted computers would defeat a world chess champion by 98. That happened in 97. In 1990, he predicted PCs would be capable of answering queries by accessing information wirelessly via the internet by 2010.
Well, that happened way before that.
He predicted by the early 2000s, exoskeletal limbs would allow disabled to walk.
Yep.
He predicted people would be able to talk to their computers to give commands by 2009. And that is now happening. This actually is a little off there because Google just announced, there's new apps now that will do, you put in the words and they'll give you back the foreign language exactly. So
Oh, really?
that's happened.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And he predicted by 2010, virtual solutions would be able to perform real-time language translation. And that happened just a couple years ago. So he's pretty good track record. So here's what he says about the next 25 years. I thought I'd bounce those off to you because I know that you're not as, how should I say, you're more cautious. You're in the cautious camp.
Not quite a
technology.
Luddite, but close.
Not a Luddite, yes. All right, so he says by the late 2010, so this is in a couple of years, glasses will beam images directly onto the retina.
This is 2015. He's saying late by what?
Late 2010s.
Yeah.
So we're talking 18,
all right. 19. Oh, 10s. Okay.
Glasses will beam images directly onto the retina, and 10 terabytes of computing power will cost about $1,000. So right now you can get a terabyte for about $1,000.
That's going to be
2020s. By the 2020s, most.
Well, the glasses is already here, right? I mean,
that's not beaming it onto your retina. If it beams onto your retina, then you've got a 90-foot screen in front of you.
I don't want something beaming onto my retina.
Huh? What?
No,
you don't want to have a computer. You have to lug around a computer screen. It's like a laptop.
Beaming into your retina. Keep your phone in your lap
it's
right
like
now.
Virtual
You're
reality.
Get nut
It'd be like
cancer.
Virtual reality. Retina cancer? Well, then they'll remove the eye. It'll be bionic, kind of.
Oh, jeez, God.
You're like this next one. By 2020s, most diseases will go away as nanobots will become smarter than current medical technology.
Oh, I think that medicines developed specifically for an individual, that's huge. And that's coming. That's. In fact, there was a deal. Did you see the thing about the couple in England? Well, what they're doing is they just passed a law in England to allow you to have an embryo that is a makeup of 3 different individuals. So let's say you've got a hiccup in you that's going to be passed on for whatever kid you've got.
I don't want to have that little
I don't want to
gene.
have that. So what they do is they go in and get some of your DNA that's okay. They pull that out. They put it into somebody. They use somebody else, some other male part.
All right.
That will not pass on any genetic.
So you're going to custom-made humans.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And England's the first one that did test tube babies. And nobody, and remember all the bullshit
Right.
about that test
Yes.
tube babies.
I
Oh my
know,
God,
I
we're
know.
gonna, and that's just common
practice
deal
now, especially
Yeah.
for couples that can't
Oh, yeah.
conceive. The Turing test in the 2020s. Turing test. You know what the Turing test is, right?
What?
Did you see Imitation Game?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got to see that
I
movie.
know.
Great movie.
Yeah.
About Turing. There's a bunch of stuff that was held secret for 50 years that just came out that made the Imitation Game happen as a movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What's
Turing
that?
was unbelievable what he did. I don't want to ruin the movie for you. But
Yeah.
go see the Imitation Game. Anyway, a Turing test is where you cannot tell the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence. So if you were talking to somebody
Yeah.
like a computer, you wouldn't know that that was a computer. You know, you couldn't distinguish the difference,
Yeah.
no matter what you tried to say.
And that's
so
gonna be-
20s, that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Self-driving cars will start to take over the nation's roads. in
Well,
2020s.
Google buys Uber. Yeah,
Yep.
that's going to happen.
And here's the interesting: people won't be allowed to drive on highways
Why? Because
the highways will be all self-driving, and it'll be. I mean, you'll be like inches away. It'll look like. If you ever seen a model where they have
Yeah.
it looks like they're barely going to hit each other, but they just
Yeah.
miss by inches,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So that would really cut traffic jam.
Well, that's
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening.
There's certain
too,
roads be
because all
designated
that,
self-driving
say, an
only.
interstate between here and Houston,
Yeah.
or the main part of it, or a big section
so
of
it's
it.
going
that's
110.
Just,
and 2 inches away from each other.
Yeah.
And that's why a human couldn't be on there.
I can see that happening.
I don't know how you enforce that if somebody wants to just be a.
Well, what they're going to do, they'll ease into it.
Right.
You know, the center lanes will be for that kind of traffic.
Right.
Yeah, no, I can see that happening.
So that's the 2020s. Diseases go away, self-driving cars, Turing tests. 2030s, virtual reality will begin to feel 100% real, and we'll be able to upload our mind and or consciousness before 2040.
Wow.
Upload your brain. There was that Johnny Depp movie. It didn't do well, but that was based on that kind of idea.
I started watching that. It just
It was a
peeled
bad
off,
movie,
and that was a
yeah.
bad movie.
In the 2040s, Ray says that non-biological intelligence will be 1 billion times more capable than biological intelligence.
He's talking about artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Oh,
1 billion
yeah.
times more capable.
Well, is the internet not 1 billion times more capable than we are now? Just the internet itself?
Yeah. Don't you think?
Yeah, and that's just I view the internet as just a bunch of file cabinets that we can access through our portals.
Right. Here's the most wildest one I thought. He says that nanotech foglets, I don't even know what the hell that is, will be able to make food out of thin air and any object in the physical world at a whim. 2040s.
We call it foglets, so it's like
nanotech
fog.
foglets. I don't know what a foglet is. I'll have to look
Well,
that up.
it's probably a swarm of nanotech things that can
You
then
just be able to
pull together.
create a physical object out of thin air?
Yeah, because they're programmed. Sure, why not?
Yeah.
They're programmed to they're dispersed as a fog. Now I don't know if that's what this is or not.
But think about it, if
they're
you could-
programmed to like kind of swarm, and then as they swarm together, as they get together, they make this microphone.
But if
they
you
make this.
All right, if you could create that out of thin air, almost anything you wanted, think about what that would do from a society standpoint, economic standpoint. I mean, really
Now-
amazing changes. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll save the best for last. 2045, humans will multiply their intelligence 1 billion-fold by linking wirelessly from their neocortex to a synthetic neocortex in the cloud.
Yipes.
So that's kind of, what was that? There was a sci-fi movie on that where you were plugged into the whole.
Plugged into the whole Matrix?
No, I can't remember now. It wasn't a good thing. It was
Yeah.
like this
Yeah.
one brain kind of thing. Anyway, so those are his predictions. Now, this isn't like some just kind of guy who doesn't get things right.
Well,
What do you think about that?
I think it's kind of creepy and exciting all at the same time.
It is.
The thing that I like about it is the foglets, because I'm going, are these things going to reconstitute as an inanimate object, or are they going to reconstitute as Carl? In other words, can I somehow figure out how to program you into a fog? In other words, take everything that is you right now,
Right.
your beard, your fingernails, and everything, and have foglets. And each one of those little foglet things, particles,
Right.
is either a fingernail or your beard. And then say, okay, this
Reconstitute
is
it.
and no. First off, I've got to say, okay, yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to make that copy and put it over here. Okay,
I don't think you'd be able to do it.
then what I'm going to say is blow it apart, and it blows apart, and it's got this little vapor. It's like this vapor cloud, and you tell the vapor cloud to go over here, and when you get to this position, pull back together. Now, the question is that just going to be a statue of you over there, or is that going to be you doing?
Well, I don't
shit?
think it'd be you because I think you'd be too complex, at least for 2040.
I don't
Right?
know.
I think it would be much easier to do a briefcase.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's not that much to it. But to do something like a human being,
Yeah.
no, I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Now, if you can upload consciousness, you can upload everything that's in your brain. So that'd be all your memories, the whole shabil.
Sure, why not?
How much of you is missing from that?
Huh?
How much of you is missing from that?
I don't know.
We don't know, do we?
No.
That'll be some of the
Now,
mysteries.
and then the thing is, if you're able to reconstitute you, Carl,
Right.
over here, exactly like you are now with all the memories and everything like that, is it that hard a deal to reconstitute Carl over here with my memories? You don't have your memories; you got my memories.
But I'm looking
Can
like
I-
you, but your memory.
Yeah.
Well, so you could share that almost. You could
Yeah.
share the experience of being the other person.
Yeah,
That'd be wild.
yeah. I
If
think
it's uploaded, yeah. If it's uploaded, it's accessible, right?
Well, I think-
you upload a music and then you download
yeah,
the music.
I think
It's a carbon copy.
anything that you can think of like this. Well, first off, you have to have a concept of that kind of thing happening, and then once you get that concept of that kind of thing happening, you have to you do a step by step to get there.
Well, he uses.
And I think that's
he uses exponential model, and he says when things become digital, okay, it becomes X's and O's. Then
Yeah.
you can. There's a clear pattern that happens.
well, it's
right?
like what is that term? That memory's going to double
Right,
every.
right. That's his
whatever it is.
exponential curve.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's how he bases a
That's
lot of
his
his
curve. That's
yeah,
he's the one that
he
did
developed, and it's shown to be the truth. So in
Yeah.
other words, this iPhone here has more power than the world's largest computer did 25 years ago, and that this iPhone currently will be able to be the size of a human cell
Yeah.
in 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Which is where he talks about those nanobots wiping out disease and stuff. Because if you've got a cell with the computing power
Yeah.
of a iPhone, okay, then you can go into the body and tell
Yeah.
the body to clear this
I really don't have a
clogs.
problem with any of those thinking that those are going to happen, because if you think about it, think about your phone.
Right.
Well, you've got a 5. Let's use mine because it's an older one, a 4S, or let's use the first iPhone, the 2.
Right,
Okay.
right.
There's more computing power in that thing than there was than what was on board the Apollos that went to the moon.
Right, absolutely.
You know?
Absolutely. So it's
And
already
so-
we can see the evidence of that curve.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But the thing is, on an exponential curve, that's why the climate people are so whacked out, is it curves on exponentially. It's dramatic. Each
Yeah.
jump is not
Yeah.
1 becomes 2, okay, then 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8. It's
Yeah.
it's big
So
jumps.
what you're saying is this exponential curve could apply to
Right.
the
Where-
economy.
yeah.
I
But
mean, the
it
environment.
took 50 years to get to the computing power
Yeah.
of an iPhone,
Yeah.
right, or whatever.
Yeah.
40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to take 5 years to double that. In other words, it really the process speeds up, and we see that happening in everything.
Yeah.
And from adoptions of televisions to the adoption of the internet to what
Well,
have
just
you.
think how quickly things like Uber are adopted now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's not that old a company, and all of a
Right.
sudden it's worth billions, and you got people like Google,
Right.
looking at buying it. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think these driverless cars could be delivery vehicles too. So all of a sudden,
Yeah, sure.
the whole idea of FedEx is that doesn't make much sense, because you got this swarm of these things running around anyway. You just drop some boxes in a few of these things and they'll load off, and they go. And sometimes they're taking people downtown, and sometimes they're dropping off boxes. We need to start a conversation.
Yes.
You know, what the fuck does that mean? And why hasn't
I think
anybody
the conversation is supposed to be a
com-
black man and a white man sitting together,
together
or
and
blacks and whites.
And I don't
not
think
man,
that, I don't
could
think
be
that,
women.
yeah, I don't think that it has to be that. I think
No?
it's just you and I could start a conversation.
Two middle-aged white guys.
Huh?
Let's start a
Two
conversation
middle-aged
about
white
race?
guys. Yeah. I mean, well, sure.
What would the conversation look like?
Well, it would be two middle-aged white guys sitting there talking. What it would sound like is something like, you know, I think you have to take ownership of who you are and the way you were raised and what your belief system is, and then how does that fit in with what's going on? Does
Okay,
it?
so we are not,
or not? I don't know. I'm
we
asking.
are in the majority. All
Yes.
right. So we're in the majority in a lot of areas. I mean, we're in the majority based on skin color. We're in
Yeah.
the majority based on income. We're in the majority based on, not majority, privileged. In other words, we don't have the hardships. We have
No,
from
and
college
it's- and
education,
that privilege is
both college educated.
based on just accident of birth.
Right, right. So we're middle class, we're white, we're college educated. So we jump 3 steps ahead of the average person.
Right.
We're male.
Yeah.
That's another step ahead. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's 4 steps ahead.
Yeah.
We may be 4 or 5 steps ahead of the base. So
Yeah.
let's say a baseline is everybody's at a line.
Yeah.
We've jumped 4 steps ahead. If you're female, you jump a step back.
Yeah.
You know, if you're black, you take another step back. If you're poor, under a certain level of income, you take another step back. If you're a lesbian, you're going to take another step back. Okay, so you could have someone, you know, where we're all created equal. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
That's the story. But
Isn't
we're
that-
not all created
who-
equal.
who said we're all created equal. Isn't that on the?
Isn't that in the? That's on. Is that in the Constitution?
Yeah.
All men are created equal.
All men are created. Yeah.
Somewhere.
Ooh.
But we're not all created equal. We've taken 5 steps ahead of equal based on who we are. And black female lesbian, poor black female lesbian is 5 steps behind. Okay? So that's a difference of 10 steps there.
Yeah.
All right? So,
And a lot of this is not just who or what you are. It's an economic thing.
yeah.
You know, so you can be. There's a complete spectrum there, and I guess what we're saying is recognize where you hit on that spectrum. Understand that's your starting point.
Right.
Okay, that's your starting point in
for
life.
jobs and everything else.
For everything.
Because guess what?
Opportunities,
Guess
the
what?
whole ball wax.
Guess what? They already have done studies. That person with the black name, you know, or if you put Juan instead of John on your resume, okay, that resume doesn't get anywhere. Like
Yeah.
10 times.
No,
to
well,
one.
here's a good example. I had a partner once.
Yes.
And his dad was
It's a business partner.
a business partner. His dad worked for a television company, you know, and it was like, I don't know, NBC, CBS, one of the big ones up in Detroit. And he was in a position where he would hire. And so he had to interview.
Right.
And whenever he would interview somebody who was black,
Right.
he would draw up in the corner a circle and put an 8 in it.
8
8
ball. Oh.
8 ball is black. So nobody would tell that he was doing that, but that's what he did.
Remind himself.
That is what some people would call soft racism. I call
that hardball racism.
It's a hidden racism.
Yes.
And that's the problem. It ain't the flag. Yeah, the flag is all well and good, and we're going to get rid of that, and that's fine.
Right,
But that doesn't get rid of the guy that interviews somebody and puts an 8 ball in the top corner.
Right. And you're,
Or the-
you're disabled. That's another step back. I mean, there's a
Yes.
bunch of steps you can go backwards,
Yeah.
and there's a bunch of if you're born into a wealthy family, take 3 steps forward.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so everybody, if you think about everybody's running a race here, and everybody's
Right.
in tracksuits, and
Exactly.
when they're born,
When they're born,
they're born
supposedly
at
they're all on
different
the-
they're
right.
born at different positions along
On
that
that
line.
line. That's correct.
The winning the finish line still down here,
Right.
although that may be changed. That probably changes too.
Yeah, because
it's
there's some
not
lanes you can't even get into.
That's right. There's not a set line.
Right.
Yeah, I would say the finish line probably even has. It's not a line that's equal for everybody that crosses through it.
Right. Well, let's say the finish line was, you know, you get a job, you get, you know, you grow up and, right?
Yeah.
Right. Somebody, if you're wealthy, white, male, you don't have to take as many steps to the finish line.
No. You don't. And
So you have to recognize that.
Yeah.
You know, you have to recognize we are.
Yeah.
We should be. It should be all equal, but it isn't all equal.
Yeah. And I think it's not.
You don't.
And there's nothing
as a white
there's
man,
nothing anybody can do to. Well, I'm not saying that. When you say that, that immediately puts a limit to you.
Right.
You got to recognize that that's what it is. You also have to recognize that there are people that are born wealthy. It's like Ann Richards said of George Bush when she was running with him. He was born on third base and was convinced he hit a triple.
Right.
No.
Exactly. That man was several steps
So
ahead of that line.
those people are acting entitled.
Right. So sometimes government comes along and says, "Hey, we recognize these." So right now, really, what the fight is with like gay rights.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you're gay,
Yeah.
that's definitely
Yeah.
a step back from
Yeah.
the line. One of the steps back. So a lot of times, what the government's trying
But
to do is
that's
just
not
trying
even
to.
at birth. That's not even at birth. That's
Right.
something that's down the road.
Yeah, but you're
And so
going.
that's
If
something
you're a
that
kid,
happens.
if you're a kid that's gay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
you're going
No,
to get
no,
it
no.
from bullying in school all the way up to today not supposed to be being able to get married, right? So a lot of times what the government's just trying to do is to take away some of the steps back to try to get at least to the
Right.
starting line.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like these entitlement programs is to get them 4 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Okay,
No.
it's really get them just to recognize that they are already
Yeah.
several
Yeah.
steps back
Yeah.
from the starting line.
But then there are people that are further down the track that were born more in a more beneficial home or
Right.
whatever that feel like there are people back here that are being given something that they're not being given.
Right.
And so there's that
But
whole
I
thing.
think we veered a little off of race now. We're all
Well,
kind of, it's beyond race.
Yeah, it is.
conversation.
But see, I think that's part of it. I think.
Well, I think if you're black, you have unique situations
Uh-huh.
in America that even someone else
Yeah.
who's disabled may not have.
Yeah.
In other words, you don't have a cop stopping you because you're in a car. Your chances of getting stopped by the cops in a car, if you're black, is way higher.
Yeah,
than
you know
it
what we're
is.
doing? We're experiencing why people don't have these conversations.
Why is that?
There are so many things that overlap that get talked about.
Yeah.
Because now we're bringing cops into it. We're bringing,
Yeah.
we started out as where
And
you
we
were
may-
born and people feeling entitled
Right.
or being given things that they're not or feel like somebody else is being given. And all those are part of the conversation. They're not separate conversations. It's all an overlap, and maybe it's trying to back that shit out and trying to untie the knots
Right.
that we've gotten ourselves into. Is it? How do you teach somebody to be an entrepreneur with the outdated educational system we have now? I mean,
I think it'd be easier than ever to teach entrepreneurship. The class becomes an entrepreneur,
yeah.
right? So I would be teaching, have a class create an app, or have a class
Yep.
come together, and we'll put different students by their interest are in charge
Yeah.
of different aspects of the company,
Yep.
right? So you've
Yeah.
got a classroom of 30 people, you got a company.
Yeah.
You've got R&D, you've got sales, you can just and let the kids gravitate
That's
towards
a
the things
great idea.
they'd be interested in,
great-
and let them build a product.
That's a great idea. You know what that is?
Uh-oh, here we go. Thought leadership?
That is thought leadership yet
How
again.
about this? This is way outside. So have the class make a product,
Yeah.
and if it takes off, the kids in the school share the profits.
Yes.
Wow. What if it took off and that's a way
No,
of
the-
financing
the-
some things?
Financing that whole
School.
department.
Or that whole department.
Yeah. So
Self-
that whole department winds up then being a profit center for the school.
Exactly.
This is
whoa,
thought,
baby.
Thought
Well,
leader deluxe.
A double thought
A
leader?
double thought leader.
I'm liking this. Of course, we're assuming that the product the company makes money and doesn't lose money.
Well, I mean, ultimately, whether it makes money or not is
Look, you've got your-
incidental to the fact that it's going to spark
Yes.
interest in these kids of doing this. Some kids will go, and what they may find out in doing this is that they go in thinking they're good at math, so they're putting in the accounting department. They go, but they see somebody over here in public relations having more fun because they do.
Yes.
Right?
Well,
She goes,
yeah.
I'm more interested in that kind of thing over there.
Right. Or you rotate it since it's the first time. So everybody's
Yeah.
got to spend
So everybody's
a
gotta
week
spend-
in sales. Everybody's got to spend a week in R&D. Everybody's got to spend a week
Great
in.
idea.
Yeah, I
Fucking
really like
great
this idea.
Yeah, no, that's
How do we
a
do that?
really
I call
good-
on America, every school,
Yeah.
to start a company and get the kids to develop a product and market it.
We need a sugar daddy billionaire to
No,
bankroll
I'm sorry,
this
the
fucker.
sugar daddy billionaires are all taken up running.
Oh, they're busy.
Rick Santorum's campaign and Marco Rubio's
Oh, that
campaign.
motherfucker's not going to run. Is Santorum going to do it? Is he going to do? Yeah, let's don't talk about that
Anyway.
thing. Let's get back to the
Let's go back to-
the entrepreneur thing. You know,
Yes.
it could be one of the where
Entrepreneur
they
school.
compete. The schools compete. The clubs, entrepreneur club.
Well, what was the remember Risky Business? He
Uh-huh.
was in what was that called? You were in that little group. Remember in Risky Business at the
But see,
he's
what this
in
does
that
is
movie?
this teaches practical application for math knowledge. This
Sure.
teaches practical applications for science.
Yes. You see, this is where schools have to change. Before schools tried to teach you and me, like they were trying to like give us the Google, right? They taught the Google,
They taught the Google,
didn't they?
Yeah, they
Facts,
taught the
names,
yeah.
places, what
but
happened.
They did
pa,
it.
pa, pa, pa,
They
pa.
did it with a 21-volume set of
Right.
encyclopedias.
Yes, and that's all that's going to get in the Google. Right, but really, they taught us a lot of the stuff they taught us.
Yeah.
we could now look up in a second. So you can't teach that anymore. That's not relevant. You can teach someone how to search.
Yeah.
The Google.
Oh,
You
and-
could teach someone
yeah.
how to find information, but to teach someone just the information when you can find. If I want to know when the War of 1776 was.
Well, here's a good
the
question. Then
Revolutionary War, I'll look it
what
up in
point
Wikipedia in
does
5
our,
seconds.
Yeah, at what point does our award-winning school system teach kids about the World Wide Net Web and the Googles? You know, that should happen right up front.
Yeah, I would be teaching that in
Yeah.
first grade.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Don't you think?
If you
Well,
have
what
to
they need
teach
to
it
be
with
teaching
pictures,
is-
teach it with pictures. But you don't even have to do that. So you
think
can
they
learn
need to teach
again,
math. They have to teach
again
math.
instead of A B C D E F G. What you do is you teach them the use of this alphabet will open this whole world up to you. So learn this alphabet as soon as you can, because as you punch in the words.
No, but you see, A, B, C, D, E, F, G is because it's a song. It's got a little banana.
Oh, I understand all that.
So you
Then
remember
can
the letters.
still,
You first got to remember the letters.
And I like to hear Simon sing it. That's all well and good. That's
You
cool
got to get
because
the basics. But that should be happening in preschool.
It's just like Zoe, H-I-K-Lo me.
H-I-K-Lo me.
H-I-K-Lo me. They always stumble on it, and the way they stumble on it is cute. And his parents and grandparents, you want to go, oh, isn't that cute? He's learning, but he's wrong.
Yeah, but if you went up to Simon and said, okay, so here's why you need to learn the alphabet, kid.
Yeah.
You know, it's going to open up a whole new world for you.
No, you say, if you learn the alphabet, you're going to be able to play thousands of games.
Yeah, all right, I can see that. But that's before you say that sentence, you say A, B, C, D.
No, I know. You got to do that. But I'm saying, it's
No,
one
I
of those
agree. What
things
you're
that needs
saying
to learn.
is what the school system should be doing is teaching you how to learn.
They don't teach it practical applications for any of this shit.
Oh, I don't know. We've been out for a long time. Maybe they do now. Maybe they're better.
Oh, come on. Not in Texas.
Texas is going to teach you that Moses wrote the Constitution.
He didn't?
Oh, no.
His name
It's
is
already
not
there.
on the Bible. I could have sworn I saw a copy with his name. Oh, that would be good.
What?
A copy of the Constitution signed by all these old religious people.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, there's that famous picture, right?
What?
Where it kind of looks like the signing the Declaration, but Jesus is there, and they got them all in there.
Is it a velvet painting?
It could. It absolutely
It might as
could
well
be.
be.
Absolutely, Elvis could be in there too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Jesus is signing the Constitution?
Not signing it. He's there applauding it, and there's religious figures and all these people there.
He's looking over the people to make sure that
yeah,
they do. He's with his arms outstretched.
It's been a while. I will get the link in our show notes.
Yeah.
So you can
But
check that famous picture out.
entrepreneuring, yeah.
I like that, entrepreneur.
yeah.
Well, it's not, and it's just like I didn't get any entrepreneur teachings.
No.
growing up, you know.
Well, and by teaching that class, you can sit there and go, okay, I took this class, and then after you learn all the parts, you kind of sit back and you go, oh, okay, Whole Earth. Whole Earth has this. And then you have little studies, and you say, okay, Whole Earth or Whole Foods, where you go and buy your groceries, they have a business that's like this too. They have an accounting department. They have public relations.
Right.
They have somebody
Take them on
that
a tour of that.
yeah, they have people that go out and meet with farmers to find out if the farmers are growing the produce the way they want it to grow. And so, you take them on tours. That would be mind expanding for kids at that age.
Right.
I mean, they would just go completely ape shit. And so you take the concept of the general concept of entrepreneur and how an organization works,
Right.
and then explore various organizations that they know about.
Right. I still remember as a kid, and this was like freshman year of high school, maybe, or eighth grade, right in around that time. And I had accounting, my first accounting class.
Yeah.
And basically that class was about checkbook, savings account, all that kind of stuff.
When was that? In high school?
Yeah, like early high school,
Yeah.
late eighth grade, one of those two.
Survivals. They're survival
But I
skills.
remember being I
Yeah.
did well in that class
Yeah.
because I saw that this is going to help me out practically going
Yeah.
in life,
Yeah.
And that's about the only class I remember practically going
Well,
in life,
and
other than
I think
home ec.
were you already starting to do that kind of stuff for yourself?
Well, my mom had got me a savings account when I was really
Correct.
young. Yes.
And that's the beginning of it.
That
and
was the
that's,
beginning,
Yeah,
yes.
and that's the beginning of it. So you start to see how that can compound, and the earlier you do that, the better. And it really does. And it doesn't have to be a savings account in a bank. It could be just a penny jar, where you're keeping
Yes.
the penny.
We
So
did
you
that for a little
start
bit
to
too.
yeah,
Yes.
and you start to do that, and the
You're right,
bank is
my parents
and the
did
bank
that.
is just a formalization of that whole process.
Right.
I don't know. That's kind of cool. If you started Uber, you were an entrepreneur. If you're driving for Uber, you ain't an entrepreneur. I don't give a shit what they call you. They ain't that. Entrepreneurs start companies. They don't work as staff for them. But anyway, I think I read it yesterday or today. It was an editorial, and they were saying they theorized one of the reasons there's such this polarization of politics right now is because there's a polarization and an inequity in salaries that's never been before. And so as the rich get richer, they have certain things that they want to protect that wealth. And I can't say that I blame them at all. Here's a good example. There's an article I read in the paper. A guy named Les Munez or Moonvos or whatever.
He's the head of CBS.
He's the head of CBS. Been for a long time. Did you see his salary dropped this last year 15%? He was only paid $57.2 million.
Yes.
Okay, $57.2 million. Now
That's a 15% pay cut.
When most people read that, they think, wow, that's a big paycheck. No, his salary was only $3 million of that. Then he had, I don't know, 10, 12, $15 million bonus. I forget what it is.
Right.
And then the rest of it is stock options and stuff. Now, what the deal is the stock options, the money you make off of stock is taxed at what? A lower rate.
Yeah.
Okay? So it's still salary, it's still money that's flowing to you, but it's
salary.
taxed at a lower rate, right? So if you're in that position, Carl, I hire you and I say you can either take $57 million in cash as your salary, or you can take $3 million and pay the higher interest, higher rate,
Right.
or and then have the rest of this as stock options. What would you do?
I do the stock option.
Right, and you
There's a
would
bit of
do
a
it-
risk in the stock option.
Well,
but
there
hasn't been
there
lately.
That is true, but you're also running the company.
Yes. So you have a
Okay,
little
you're
control.
in charge. Yeah. And so,
But stock options go to more than just the president, too.
Oh.
So there's this whole upper echelon in corporate America that gets...
would we call it the 1%? I think we would call that the 1%.
So it's interesting. So
Don't
you're
forget
saying,
the 1% people.
Yeah.
So
you got $57 million to this less moonbeams.
Yeah.
And then you've got a bunch of independent contractors.
not
They cut
hired-
out the salaries for the
don't-
low people.
They don't hire staffing companies to staff in the executive suite.
No. Well,
No.
Well, they
and
have
the
headhunters.
executive suite, the CEOs, those are not staffing. Maybe the head.
it's ironic then. So most of the employees are going to tend to be higher level people will be the employees. There's almost becomes three classes. There's the higher don't hire you with a W-2, hire you with a W-9, where you're an independent contractor. Those are the lowest levels. Then you have the medium levels; they're just employees. And then you have the upper level, which is employees with stock options.
Yeah.
So you have three tiers now
Yeah.
in corporate America.
And we'll let those people call themselves entrepreneurs or consultants or whatever makes them feel good and happy about what it is we're paying them.
Right. And here's
Right?
the thing, and the reason you are not hiring people, because the cost of employee is expensive with all the benefits and health care and all that, is the reason they probably went to the manpower model is to afford Les Moonbeam's $57 million salary.
And the other part of it is, as far as medical insurance and stuff, this is something I didn't realize either until I was working with one of the employees at Texas Instruments, and they were doing some sort of project where they talk about they were doing a presentation for executive medical insurance. And they realized that the medical insurance that's paid the top people is way different than what's paid everybody else. It's not the same. You'd think that you get the same. Oh, no.
The medical insurance has tiers within the company.
Oh, absolutely.
Didn't know that.
They may be
I thought it was the same. That's how it used to be.
They may be paying life insurance, a huge life insurance policy that the other guy doesn't have to pay. Okay?
Because so those are some of the perks.
Oh, yeah. Oh, just some of the perks.
And so your argument is too top heavy in terms of...
Oh, it's way too top heavy. And I think
at the expense of the middle class, lower...
Oh, absolutely. And I think that top heaviness is, let's call them what they are, the 1%, the people that are pulling the strings. They tend to be more conservative because they want to protect their money. And those are the people that are sending the money to the lobbyists. Those are the money that are the people that can get access. I just wondering if we're not being sold a bill of goods. We're being distracted with things. Look at that shiny thing over there. Look at this shiny thing over there. Hey, you're a consultant now. Hey, you're an entrepreneur. And go try and get your medical insurance somewhere else. We're not offering it anymore. You can't work for us full time, yet Les makes $57.4 million. And I'm sure he's got a bunch of lawyers and accountants and PR people justifying his salary. He can afford to pay.
Well, the argument is if a CEO isn't worth it, then they want to get the money.
I think that's absolute total bullshit.
Yeah.
Nobody's worth that kind of money. I'm sorry.
But that's what the market's paying these days.
That's what.
But if
who controls
Les Moonbeams,
who controls the market?
I apologize to Les's last name.
No, who controls the market? The Les Moonbeams of the world. Do they not control the market?
Okay, but the argument, I'm just playing the argument. I'm not saying I agree with it. The argument is you take a corporation that's making $1 billion, and under your tutelage, under your CEO-ship, you turn that into a $2 billion company, giving you a $50 million bonus.
Did he do that all by himself?
On $1 billion is nothing.
Did he do all that all by himself? What about the employees that did all the hard work?
He had to put a team together, yes.
Okay, do they get bonuses that are equal to a percentage of whatever it is?
Would get a bonus.
I don't give a shit about the upper management. I'm talking about the people that were down in the trenches building the shit and pushing it out the door and making sure the schedules.
Lifts all boats, Michael.
Oh, I don't buy that lift all boats.
The shareholders make the money.
That's right.
And so they don't want to give it to the employees because they want to give it to the shareholders.
That's right. That's what the deal is. It's always about shareholders. Shareholders are demanding that we become more efficient. How many times have you heard that? Shareholders are demanding. Yeah. And so when they say more efficient, what does that mean?
That means give them more money.
And how do you give them more money? You make it cost less. You cut the cost. You send the workers. You hire
supposedly
workers
by making
China.
more profit. But you're right.
Again,
the way to make more profit is sometimes when things aren't going that great.
Is that not smoke screen to what they're really doing? They're making more. They're becoming more profitable, and it's better to talk about we're going to become more profitable. It's not we're going to cut staff. Or you're a PR person. Okay, I'm hiring you as my PR person. Okay, what are you going to talk about? You're going to talk about the staff we're cutting and the jobs we're moving overseas. You're going to talk about the fact that we're more profitable than we've ever been.
More than we've ever been.
That's right. And Les is going to make more money than we ever have because he's made us more profitable.
But the way he did that,
Wall Street goes rah rah. And do the people that are making 40 million on Wall Street give a shit about the people that are getting laid off? No.
So is this a Michael idea? This is a Carl and Mike trademarked big idea.
This is thought leadership, but it's also trademark thought leadership. Okay.
So send if you run with this as a business, send the residual checks to.
Yeah, Carl and Mike. Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Hit me with.
And we take cash. We will get for a cash payment. We will give them what, 15-20% discount.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's the terms of the deal. Okay. Here's the thing. I got 3 kids, and all 3 of them have used these dating services: Match, eHarmony, whatever the fuck they're called. I don't know. YouandMeBabe.com. I don't know. Whatever.
I think Match, eHarmony.
Yeah.
OkCupid.
OkCupid. Okay.
There you go.
All right. And so not having, done that, and you haven't done that either.
No,
I really
have not.
don't have any direct personal experience with it, but I do
But
know
your kids
people.
do.
Yeah, my kids do, and I do know people our age who have used it. Okay. Some of them successfully. When I say successfully, they've gone out and had dates. Have they met the absolute person of their dreams? Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. I'm not sure that there may be a couple of people that have, I don't know. But anyway, and Carl and I were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, and it's most of these things, you basically what they rely on is you filling out a form, right? This is what I'm saying about myself.
Right.
I'm
and here's what I like.
Yeah,
which is basically me.
Yeah, here's
I want
what
a
I
mini
like.
me.
Yeah,
And the opposite sex.
And
or
so
the
what
same
you're
sex
looking
thing.
for is a mini me.
Yeah.
And so then the computers, you submit this because
So I like tennis. I like this.
tennis. I like movies.
I don't drink. I don't smoke. Whatever.
I like to go out and hunt.
Right,
blah
right.
blah blah. And so what they'll do is they'll put. And I don't know. Do they ask you what you want in a person? Do you say I need somebody that's blonde?
Yeah.
That's I think they give you get a age range and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what all it is, but anyway. Again, we're coming at this kind of ignorant because we haven't done that, but. And then the computers, churn, and, send you out your matches. And, they're like 97% match or 88% or whatever. And you look through them and then you start batting back and forth emails or tweets or, text or something.
Right.
So there's still no direct contact.
So what is Perry, Perry's used this, right?
Yeah.
So there's no fire. So he's had dates from Match, or the kids have had dates.
I think
What is
he's
the
had a
problem?
couple.
If you've got a 97% match on the surface, to me, it would seem like that should be a good thing.
Okay.
You got everything you wanted.
I'll use one of my daughters who's done it a lot more. I mean, she is like culling the herd with this shit.
Okay.
Oh, buddy, she is working it.
She's working the
hard.
system.
Yeah, she is
All right.
working it hard. And so she has all these dates. One of these guys was like a pilot.
Yeah.
Okay. And he lives in Hong Kong. Okay, so he's a pilot in Hong Kong. He comes on and says that he's going to be in Austin to help his parents move into a house, or so he really wants to get together with her and all this kind of stuff. Well, and he was going to be in town, or going to be in the stateside for like a couple of weeks. So she got all fired. They were talking and getting all excited with each other and everything, and she was really looking forward to it. Well, he neglected to mention that he's got an old girlfriend who he had also been contacting, who was also going to be there to see him. And, it's almost like Zebo was, a placeholder for this. And it just,
So let me wait here,
there's
though.
bullshit like that goes on
you
all
don't.
the time.
If I'm online, you don't want to date a pilot from Hong Kong. That's like a truck driver from Oklahoma a few years ago.
Yeah, but
those guys always have a little something on the side because they're always traveling around the world.
Well,
right there's a red flag. Red flag right there.
Yes, and I know that, and you know that, but somebody that's younger thinks, "Oh, pilot, cool."
Yeah, I got it.
And so that's different than what I do, and it sounds cool, and it's romantic, and they go to all these great places, and
they should all have lots of things in common.
Yeah, supposedly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you saying the person lied, or what are you saying?
It is lying, but there's a lot more
Embellishment.
omission.
Oh, omission.
Yes.
That isn't on the sheet.
So would you call it lying, or just failing to fill in
I call
all
it lying
the blanks?
if there was a blank on the thing and they didn't fill it out.
Okay,
that would
yeah.
be omission.
Yeah.
But if there's no blank to ask
Yeah.
that question, then no, they didn't do
Yeah,
anything wrong.
exactly. So you really don't know any more about that person than what they're able to show you or give you, either on the form,
whether they're telling the truth
or
or
on
not.
their page or their
Right.
photographs. Okay, and so you really don't have that. So we started talking about the way it was done in the old days. And in the old days, a lot of the dates and matches and stuff were made through friends and families,
Right.
or at work, through coworkers. And a lot of these people would say, hey, I know somebody that you might like. I think y'all would get along real well. And that person that knows you and knows the other person is doing some of that computer work.
Well, that's kind of blind date, right?
Well, it is. They're all blind dates.
Yeah.
Whether it's a computer blind date or a work
Okay.
or a family
Right.
blind date. So what the person that knows you is starting to turn the gears and thinking, I think these two might get along.
Right.
Okay. So then we started thinking, and that's a good thing. That's missing from all these sites. To the best of my knowledge, that part of it is missing. And so
Friend recommendations.
Right. And so let's say that you had a friend that wanted, let's say it was somebody our age. We won't give it, just say it's somebody our age. And they're looking for somebody. And so we started thinking, rather than fill out the forms, or you can still fill out the forms and do all that other BS that you're doing about yourself, but you select a dozen people that you know and you've known well, family members, friends since, junior high, college friends, professional friends, all these acquaintances, people that have known you for a long time and that you have experience with and they have experience with you, and you ask each one of those people to then do a 2 to 3 minute video. It has to be a video. It cannot be something written.
So
I
use
want to
your
be
iPhone.
able to see these people's facial expressions and watch them and how they react when they're talking about that person. Okay.
So you're asking your friends, a group of friends, to do a 2 to 3 minute video on your behalf.
Yeah.
Telling a prospective suitor,
Right.
for lack of a better word, why you're a good person to date.
Yeah. Now, also, these dozen people that you've got surrounding yourself
I think
now.
a dozen's a lot.
Well, okay, 6, whatever you want to do. Let's do 8. Okay, 6 or 8, whatever. So what you have is you have these people that are talking about you, giving somebody who is a stranger to you kind of a sense of who you are.
Right.
You also automatically get a sense of who their friends are.
Right.
That you and that
tells you a lot,
That
too.
tells you an awful lot. See, that always happens after you meet with somebody in Match.com. Y'all date a few times, and then you get to the point where you're trying to introduce them to your friends. Okay, and you've told your friends some things, but it's not the same deal. So basically, what it is, and then is you're getting a sense of that individual through what their friends say, which is kind of old school shit.
Right.
Okay. But also, these friends are also doing pass-through acquaintances. They said, I really think, these friends are now listening to all these other people talk about you, and they may have an idea of somebody that they know that you might get along with. So they pass that person through to the center.
All right, so this is
Center
kind of
of
an
the
app.
circle.
So like a Match.com app. You go
Yeah.
in, you fill out some
Yeah.
kind of form,
Yeah.
you get your 6 friends, they do videos.
Yeah.
And then people can come and not only look at what you say about yourself, but they can see what your friends say about you to make their decision of whether they want to date you or not.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna poke at this
Okay, cool.
because I could see this happening. So I'm a guy, all right? I go, I see this girl, she seems nice, and then I start to see her friends' videos, and then it turns out I like this friend.
Well, those friends are not available because they're people that are married or whatever.
Well, they could be available. You don't know.
Well, they could be. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
That's always a possibility.
But you're saying we
that's
need
a
to bring in-
possibility with Match too. You
Yeah.
get in, you start dating somebody,
You go meet their
and then
friend.
you introduce your friends, and you go, "Whoa, like her better."
Yeah.
And I mean, that does happen, I'm sure.
So you're saying what's missing from the computer model is the human being.
Yeah, the human touch.
So you're saying here's the
That
Carl and
human
Mike dating
interaction.
service
Yeah.
that we're going to bring in. The
that
human
extended family interaction.
I don't know if I want my, do you want your mom doing a 2-minute video?
Well, you
on
don't have to do your mom.
Yeah.
It could be you've got a
Well,
really
who
good
you choose
relationship
tells
with
you
a brother.
too.
Yes.
Or if you can't really
Absolutely.
even get 6 friends together.
Absolutely. In other words, yeah, if it's just friends, you don't include anybody in your family, you go, well, I guess all his family's dead or they don't get along or something. That says something right there. Mm-hmm. I think. And, yeah.
All right, but so I've got all that set up.
Uh-huh.
Now somebody comes in and they looks at it, and they're interested in me, but do they have their videos with all their friends?
Yeah.
So they have to do it too.
Yeah, I think.
So I get to see their friends.
Yeah,
it has to be
I
a
think-
mutual.
yeah,
We
I
see
think-
each other's friends.
I think.
report.
I think that's important. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I like that idea.
And because you've got another 6 or 8 people that you've expanded, there's going to be some overlaps in those groups, or there's going to be some people that know some people, and those there may be those kind of interactions that happen too. and
Yeah. You ever
introductions
see that
happen.
notice that on Facebook? All of a sudden you'll have a friend on Facebook and it'll say 2 mutual friends.
Yeah,
And you go, who the hell are those?
And
then you
you
click out and it's like somebody that you're in this other part of your world.
Yeah, or they'll say 2 mutual friends, and look at it, and I go, I don't know these fucking people. Who are these people? Do you ever have that happen?
Or I didn't know the mutual friend.
Yeah. There's just some sort of
Well,
weird
no, if they're a mutual
connection
friend,
somewhere.
then you have to have friended them at some point on Facebook.
Just because you friend somebody, what I've done is I've friended people that I didn't know.
Who wanted to friend you?
Yeah.
Why'd you do that?
I don't know, because I want to be liked. I want to be liked, Carl.
Is that it, Michael?
Yeah. I can't stand rejection.
Yeah.
I
See,
want people,
anybody
I want
pretty
people
much
to like me.
anybody that goes and does a friend request is pretty much in on your thing, huh?
They were, until I started getting all kinds of weird shit. Now I've got to try and figure out.
I
who
think
to
everybody did that
defriend.
in the beginning of
Diggy,
Facebook,
diggy,
which
diggy,
made
diggy.
Facebook so popular.
Yeah.
In the beginning, everybody just did that.
Yeah.
And then now I think people are like,
Do you defriend somebody? What if that person is fragile? And
Yeah,
you
I don't
defriend
really
them, and that's
defriend
the
them.
thing. That's the thing that you push them over the edge, and all of a
That's it.
sudden you find out from some of your other mutual friends that you really don't know that person.
have
off
you ever done that
themselves.
where you went and checked in on someone's Facebook page and you realized you had been friends and they defriended you?
No. Have you done that?
I had one.
Did you really?
Yeah. I was surprised.
Really?
Yeah.
Why did they defriend you?
I don't know. I didn't ask them.
Oh, you should ask them.
I'm not that good of friends with them.
There you go. That's why they defriended.
Is that
you.
it?
They just didn't want to listen to your bullshit.
Yeah.
There's, as far as common sense goes, I think there's things that we can learn from other people around the world. Duh.
Yeah. What's working?
Yeah,
Ever
what's
hear of a
working?
thing called best practices?
Yes.
And I like how they say, "Oh, that wouldn't work here." Why,
Oh, really? Why?
Really? Why?
Because you say so?
Right.
No.
Like
no.
these are strange alien beings somewhere else.
Yeah.
You know.
It's
Guess
just
what?
like
It
that,
works.
that thing we were talking about the other day in Colorado.
Yeah.
Okay. What they've basically done is they've made long-term birth control free for poor people, for people that can't afford it. What they've done is
So they have
allow
birth
that.
control
Yeah.
for if you're
and
poor,
so,
you
and,
have
and
you
they
don't
have
to pay for birth
a
control.
4-year study that they've done. They've tracked it for 4 years,
Right.
and over that 4-year period, unwanted teen pregnancies have dropped. Listen to this, folks. 40%.
If you give unwanted teen
40%.
pregnancy, 40%,
40%.
with free birth control.
Yes. And you know how much abortions have dropped
How
during that same
much?
period? 42%.
42%
So that ought to,
drop in
that ought to
abortions.
make the
So every
social
Republican
freaks.
should be on it.
Yeah, they should be all on it. But what we do to get those kinds of results is you give people birth control,
Yeah.
which I think is great. I think if they want it and you can afford, and
And if you're against abortions, you should be for this.
yeah.
You can't have it.
Yeah.
You can't say don't talk about sex or don't give birth
Yeah,
control.
don't give me that.
And keep abortions.
Yeah, don't give me
You
that.
don't get that.
Nancy Reagan just say no shit. This works. Her just say no didn't work. It made great copy, but it didn't work. This works. This is something that's tried and true. Tried for 4 years. It worked. Okay, now let's take the Colorado model and put it out and run it in surrounding states. Just let it grow out from Colorado. Okay.
So you want to.
So that's the kind
part
of
our-
common sense stuff that makes
So
to
you
me.
want to look at stuff that's working and
Well, sure.
expand it.
Well, sure. I don't want to look
You
at stuff
radical,
that's
you.
not. No, let's look at stuff that's not working
write some good
keep
copy
doing
about it and try and get people
Try
to
to
keep
sell
doing
it.
Yeah, no.
For
Duh.
special interest.
Yeah, no.
Because it
yeah.
only works for me.
No,
You know, that's
just,
what's out there. It works for me, meaning I get money.
Yeah.
And you get screwed.
Yeah. I
That's
don't
really
have
what
to change
happens.
things. Yes, I don't have to
Right.
change the way.
That's how that EPA thing, right?
Yeah.
That we talked about that.
Yeah.
Well, the people that went to court on the, to get it to the Supreme Court were companies that were not willing to upgrade their plants like everybody else did.
Yeah.
So they just argued. They just argued it was too costly.
Yeah.
And therefore the EPA
And it
was
would
putting them out of
meaning
business.
it was too costly, and it would put me out of business. And so
And
I'm
what
saying,
business
well,
are you in? You're in
okay.
the pouring mercury into the air
Yeah.
business.
Well, there are probably companies that used to make wagon wheels that are out of business.
Yeah.
Or did they try and go to Congress and say, "Well, I don't want those rubber things. You know,
Those-
don't
yeah,
let those
there's
rubber
cost
things. You know,
involved
there's
in
cost
there.
involved in me
Yeah.
changing from
I
wagon."
own
You know,
horses. I own a whole big bunch of
If you
horses.
own wagon wheels and you don't want to change, tough shit. You're out of business. If these people don't want to change and upgrade and make the air clean for all of us to breathe, fuck them. They go out
So
of business.
another part
you
of
know,
common
fuck 'em.
sense is what's for the greater good of
Yes.
people.
The greater good
Of-
of all
of
people.
people
not
like
just
you
the
and
guy
me.
That, not just the guy or the investors that own that particular plant.
So someone would say, well, what about Bernie Sanders? Maybe Bernie Sanders, why run? Why not just get behind Bernie Sanders? And I think,
I don't know.
well, when you talk about the taxation and changes, I think we're probably going to be different on that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I don't believe there's any good ideas in Crazy Town on the Crazy Bus.
Yeah.
But there are good ideas that traditionally have been a Republican thing.
Yeah.
And there's good ideas on both sides. Potentially good ideas on both sides of the fence. And common sense doesn't have a political party.
No, it doesn't.
It's
does
common
not.
sense.
Yeah, it's
of,
common sense. And that's
teachers'
what
unions. Okay, we're not going to be a big fan of those. The
Yeah.
teachers need to make more money. Yes, the teachers do not need a union where you can't fire a teacher for poor performance. Okay, because that doesn't make any sense.
Yes, exactly.
So we're going to be the common sense party.
Yeah. And doing to others as you'd have them do unto you, the golden rule.
Yeah.
You could take all the 10 Commandments and chunk them and just keep that one thing and you got it. It's all boiled down to that. I mean, if you're, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's
Because you
wife.
don't want your wife coveted.
Right. So is that
That's
any?
another word,
Is that
coveted.
any?
We don't use that one anymore.
No. Is it? No. Then we probably should use that more. I covet. Anyway, so is there really any need to rewrite that? That's a start. You know what that is? That's taking a good common sense
got complicated
idea
it.
and complicating it.
They got 10 commandments
Yeah.
when they really need to just be one.
Yes, that's the first complication.
Interesting. So here's the question,
there.
Michael: Is there truth from a liberal perspective and a truth from a conservative perspective, and where is the truth?
They're
Or-
in everybody's
truth. I
spinning
need
as
some
the
truth, Michael.
No, that would be great.
So
if
what?
there was-
So Republicans, what we consider
the
craziness is
sun's going to
truth.
come up tomorrow. That's true.
So that's there's not a right or wrong.
No, there's not a right or wrong reason that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. Nobody can tell me that it's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a thing. It's going to come up tomorrow.
But then, so why are we even arguing against the Ted Cruzes or the Mike Huckabees of the world if they're not wrong?
Because it's a battle over control of minds, and they use fear to do it.
So what we're really battling against is fear.
I think in our own minds, yeah, we are. I'm not sure that we all realize that we're being sold certain ideas based on fear. Okay. Gun rights people are saying they're going to come get your guns, and you have a right to those guns.
So is
and
it
the
a
right
battle?
to protect
It's not
yourself,
a battle of right or wrong.
and it
It's a
could be-
battle of fear and non-fear.
There's not a non-fear. It's a battle of fears. And then the people on the other side, well, we need to get those guns because these people that have them are crazy as shit, and you never know what they're going to do. It's not enough to scare somebody. You have to give them a reason to listen to you, and the reason that they listen to you is you have the antidote. You have the cure for what the fear is.
You see, when I make I get what you're saying. I get all that.
Mm-hmm.
That is definitely how that is utilized,
Mm-hmm.
and you could argue is fear being utilized the same way on the quote left with climate change and all that
Absolutely.
shit. What I tried to look at when I make decisions, I don't know. For me, this feels like an inherent sense of right and wrong. And maybe I'm wrong on that. But when I make a decision, I'm making a decision against oppression, against someone whether it be my
You're
troubles
saying
with
more of a black and white thing?
well, and it tends to be on the liberal side, but internally, I'm not going,
Yeah.
what's the liberal position? I'm going, what's the right here? What's the right thing to do? I'm trying to do the right thing. I'm sure.
Well,
I mean, I've talked to
it's
fairly
fear-based.
smart people that are on the conservative side that would say this religion.
Take the gay marriage thing.
Yeah.
The lady in Kentucky is saying this is going against my religion, and the people that are supporting
Right, so
her
she
are
feels in the
saying
right.
that she's being
She's doing the right thing.
persecuted, and she feels like very much that she's doing the right thing, what
Right.
right for her and her heart, and right for her family and everything. And
right,
her,
and I think the opposite. And I think
exactly.
I'm being what's
Exactly.
right. So
Exactly.
so what does that mean then?
It
don't
means
don't
it's-
use right or wrong as a judgment.
What's the
darn bar?
That could be. Maybe there's some words that throw up the wall, and right and wrong is black and white. If you say this is right, that means something else is wrong. If I tell you I'm right,
How am I supposed to make a decision? I tried to use the golden
well,
rule.
they're not
Treat
trying,
it the way you want to be
They're
treated.
not trying to get you to make a decision. They're trying to get you to join up.
How do I make a decision? Whether it be the Syria thing, today we made a decision.
Yeah.
I think that should be handled.
Yeah.
Why do I think that? Well, because it's their neighborhood.
Yeah.
I guess I could make a decision that we should take them all in, but I don't know. What is the? I'm trying to say this out loud to myself. What is the guidepost I'm using to make these decisions?
Well, I
Is
think
it just straight reasoning and logic?
I think whatever it is what seems to be correct for you personally.
Right.
What seems to be right for this lady in Kentucky is to proceed the way she's proceeding. That's what seems right in her mind and in her soul and in her heart and everything else. So that's the way she wants to play her cards. But the people that are coming in trying to get her to issue license, the couples that want to get married, they're going in and making a statement based on what they think is right, and confronting her.
And we could do the same thing, right? If the Supreme Court ruled on Citizens United, for instance, we think that's really wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we're going along with it, but anyway, it's complicated. I hear what you're saying, and I'm sure it is right in their minds, but it's wrong in my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back to the golden rule.
Can
on
you
this.
hear them say that?
Yes.
And see, that's the thing. If you can hear them saying the same thing, then you start to get maybe a point where you can agree. So you're agreeing that the other person feels like it's right.
I get that they think it's right, even though...
And feels like the other person is wrong. So if you can get that kind of agreement started, that's something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't seem like it's very much.
I think what I do is, I try to do on the golden rule. Treat others like you'd want to be treated.
Yeah, yeah.
On a lot of decisions.
Yeah.
And no easy answers. I'm glad we're grappling with it, though. Maybe it's just the grapple. Maybe it's the journey, not the destination, Michael. What's the commonality between religious organizations, business organizations, and government organizations? It's people.
What it is
People in power, not
people
knowing how
in
to handle
power,
power.
and the people underneath them hand over responsibility to them to do the right thing. They just sit in the pews and sing. They get their paycheck and they go home, or they vote and think that they're having an impact, and they're not.
It's a human condition problem at the end of the day.
Probably.
There's not enough moral to do the right thing people, or the power corrupts it, and we haven't learned how to handle power responsibly.
You have to be in a position long enough
I
to
don't care if
accumulate power. So maybe one of the solutions is don't let anybody stay in one position long enough to
but
accumulate
that's how
any
you
power.
get positioned. The reason you have that is you've been in an industry 30 years. You have a lot more knowledge than someone who has been in an industry 3 years.
I'm not saying they're not still in the industry. They're not in a position to make decisions that impact. I don't know what
Now, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, probably
you got a guy with
probably
30
doesn't.
years experience. He'd be the one you'd want to rely on the most.
Here's a good example. Somebody that has 30 years of experience right now with computers, and it went back for the last 30.
Right, you're right. Yes.
You want some. I want somebody that's of the now.
That's what Steve Jobs said. Death is a way to make way for the new.
Yeah.
That's why it's one
Yeah.
of the greatest inventions.
Give them their gold watch, whatever. I'm not saying they're put out to pasture. I'm just saying they have served in the time that they were supposed to serve, and it's time for somebody else.
But in Volkswagen's case, and a lot of these cases, it's one individual that might do the thing, but everybody else signs off on it. You know what I mean?
Some one person had the idea.
Yeah, I don't think it necessarily was the CEO's idea. I think someone
No.
had the idea and everybody bought up. Right.
Right. Now, I don't know
It's
if the person that had
why
the
would they
idea.
buy off on? That's the part. Okay.
Because it was
They-
cheaper to make the cars.
Right.
It's
But-
always about money.
It's always about money. So maybe what's really needs to be learned is man needs to learn, and by man I mean men and women, humankind needs to learn how to be responsible with money. And maybe we just haven't learned that yet. Once again, lots of questions, few answers. That's what you get at Carl.
Why do we do this to ourselves?
We torture ourselves. No, I think, the insight I got out of this is it's a human problem. We need to get better. Because you're right. It's in government. It's in religion. It's in business. It's in any. It's
major
in any
institutions.
which is made up of people at the end of the day. I think the income inequality that we're facing with right now, the 1%. You see, Donald Trump is a great example of that. There's a guy who we think they're so smart, because they reach the top of their fields, but that doesn't necessarily translate that they're a moral person or,
No.
it's a wake up.
Well, yes, and I think what that is we're starting to see the way these people think. We saw that with Mitt Romney on the 47% thing. You're starting
Yeah.
to see the way they think.
Yeah.
Trump has got no governor. He's just letting it all out there the way he thinks. So
Right.
we're going,
We're
okay,
getting
that's
a
the way
front row
he
view.
thinks. So then you start to go, well, who else in his position that's got his kind of money, how else do they think? Wouldn't you love to have somebody like Addleston?
And we know,
Addleston
and
the
we know that now
conscious-
there's 100 of them that have 90% of the wealth.
Yeah. But then there's people like Gates who's doing these foundation
Yeah.
things that's absolutely the most admirable thing that
So we
you
need
can
to
imagine.
reward one and
Yeah.
right.
All right.
Done it again. We want to hear about you. What do you think about all of this? Send your comments to right on carlandmike.net. We have show notes for every episode, the mighty fine show notes.
Yeah, we love getting all the mail that we get.
Put all the comments in there, or send your emails to
Postcards.
postcards to questions at carlandmike.net. And we want your questions and your comments and everything else. And gosh, thank you for farts. Not really sponsored by. For your support.
All right.
Peace.
Out.
Focus,
Yeah,
focus,
yeah,
focus.
Yeah.
But you don't get that because this
No.
is a conversation.
It is a
Conversations meander.
They do. They should meander.
They should meander, to be real.
Or do you think they're meandering because we're old?
I don't know. It could be. Absolutely. I don't know. So you're saying two 25-year-olds having a conversation, they would be on point?
No.
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 Here's what two 25s would sound like. Hey,
Hey.
what's up?
Yo.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Want to
Yo.
play a video game?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Oh, sorry, I got a phone call. Let me get this.